Um, I'm really excited that you're here to learn more about the Prenatal to 3 Community Grant. Um, and so these are what we're going to be covering tonight. First, I'll present some info session protocol. These are just some items to help you get the most out of this experience. And the next portion, this is where we'll really dig into the nuts and bolts of this funding opportunity, and I'll provide a history and purpose of this request for proposals. Next, we'll have a question and response portion, and I may or may not have the answer to your question right now, but it's my job to document your question and to provide a response in a timely manner. So rest assured you'll have a response. And then a closing, just a summary of the most important points and possible next steps. All right. Here is our info session protocol. Participants will not be able to speak during the presentation. I encourage you to use the chat function to ask questions as they come up, and I will respond to them during the question and response segment. And it's very important to me that I provide information that's accurate. So as I had mentioned just a minute ago, that if a question of yours requires further research or deliberation, because it's especially good, I will be transparent, and the answer will be provided within 72 hours of this presentation. And the answers will be provided on the Deal Funding Opportunities webpage. And any questions we are not able to get to today will be responded to and posted again in that 72-hour period. And lastly, the session is being recorded, but it won't include any identifiable information about participants. And it will be a recording of this PowerPoint and my wonderful voice without faces or names. And you can find the recording of this presentation and corresponding slides on, again, the Deal Funding Opportunities webpage. And this is a roadmap of the topics that I'll be covering. And we're going to start here where the star is, about the Prenatal to 3 RFP. On June 6, 2017, the Seattle City Council passed an ordinance that a tax be collected on the final distribution of sugar-sweetened beverages by a distributor. It was designed to improve the health of Seattle residents by reducing the sales and consumption of sugary drinks. The revenue generated by the tax is intended to fund programs that increase access to healthy food and support children's health and development. The ordinance also established the Sweetened Beverage Tax Community Advisory Board, a group to advise and make recommendations to the mayor and city council on initiatives supported by the beverage tax revenue. In June of 2019, the CAB conducted a series of community engagement activities meant to capture the voices of residents. The focus of the engagement was programs and services relating to food access, food insecurity, child development, and early learning where needed. At the beginning of 2020, the Community Advisory Board heard from Human Services Department, or HSD, the Department of Education and Early Learning, or DEAL, and the Office of Sustainability and Environment, or OSE, about the investments currently supported by SBT funds. The CAB recommended a public funding opportunity intended for community organizations that specialize in high-quality prenatal to 3 and kindergarten readiness services that seek to reduce disparities in outcomes for children and families based on race, gender, or other socioeconomic factors. The City of Seattle currently funds, through revenue from the sweet and beverage tax and the City General Fund, programs in prenatal to 3, including home visiting, developmental supports, child care health consultation, child care subsidies, and quality supports for child care. All of the current prenatal to 3 investments seek to address racial equity gaps and support families and caregivers. This funding program is intended to strengthen the city's work in prenatal to 3, with the core premise that organizations that center community in their work are best positioned to understand the program and interventions that will close the persistent opportunity gaps in Seattle. This funding opportunity is intended to be accessible and low barrier to apply. The city has contracted with community-based technical assistance providers to support proposal development, as well as providing language access supports as they're needed. So very exciting. This is the first of its kind that Deal has organized, and I'm very privileged and honored to be leading it. Next, we're going to learn about eligibility for funding, who can apply. Groups interested in providing prenatal to 3 supports to priority populations defined as BIPOC, immigrant, refugee, individuals with low income, and those whose primary language is not English. Also organizations that serve children aged birth to 3, pregnant individuals, and or guardians of children aged birth to 3 within the City of Seattle are encouraged to apply. Community-based organizations that are incorporated as nonprofits are eligible to apply. Unincorporated organizations are required to identify a fiscal sponsor for the proposal. What kind of proposals are ineligible for this funding? There are 4 types of ineligible proposals. First, any proposals that provide quality supports or childcare subsidies for licensed childcare. Any proposals that solely focus on supporting general operations of an organization. Proposals that are without a central focus on the prenatal to age 3 period. And finally, any proposals that are focused on political lobbying. Those are the 4 types of proposals that are not eligible for this funding. Approximately $1.4 million is available for this grant cycle, and applicants are eligible to apply for a maximum of $150,000 and a minimum request of $10,000. So anywhere between $10,000 and $150,000. The desired outcomes of this investment are healthy and equitable births, parental health and emotional well-being, access to needed services, sufficient household resources, nurturing and responsive adult or child-adult relationships, and optimal child health and development. So any proposals that support these outcomes are proposals that are appropriate for this funding opportunity. And so these are examples of the types of programs that fit within those desired outcomes. And this is not an exhaustive list, just some suggestions to help illustrate. Examples of programs that seek to address disparities in maternal health outcomes, doula and or pregnancy supports, home visiting and or home-based supports, parent education and or parent mental health support, developmental screening, assessment and or evaluation, enhancements to existing initiatives that would increase access to those initiatives, and informal messaging campaigns. And again, that's not an exhaustive list, but some examples to help illustrate. This is how the funding is prioritized. There are 2 types of prioritization. The first is the organizations themselves. So the applicant organization with the following characteristics will be prioritized for funding. That the organization is representative of and primarily serving priority communities. That the applicant organizations demonstrate an organizational structure and strategies to engage with the community, particularly with young families. And organizations that are smaller have fewer staff and smaller budgets. The second type of prioritization are focused on the types of work, and the projects that demonstrate the following will be prioritized for funding. Projects that provide evidence of a process for co-designing and co-creating proposal with the community members that will be benefiting from the project. Projects that demonstrate, that have characteristics that are culturally responsive and promote equitable access. And projects that clearly outline and support how the work will positively impact priority communities and meet the grant program outcomes. We're going to move on to the second topic within these topics, and that is the timeline. It's very text heavy, I apologize. You'll get a copy, or a copy of this slide deck will be available on the funding, the Deal Funding Opportunities webpage. So the technical assistance period starts today and it ends on September 21st, which is also the last day to submit your proposal. The application deadline is the 21st of September. The application review period, when proposals will be reviewed by community members and City of Seattle staff, are September 22nd to September 30th. The clarification period, these days are very important. If anyone reviewing your proposal is unclear about something in the proposal, this period provides an opportunity for you as the proposer to respond to any questions that they have. Therefore, it is important that you be reachable on these 3 days, the 26th, the 27th, and the 28th, by phone or email. If we aren't able to reach you, the review panelists will evaluate your proposal to the best of their ability. So it's really helpful and important that you be reachable within at least 24 hours during this period. Notification letters sent by October 7th, and we send notifications to every primary contact who submitted a proposal. If your proposal was selected for funding, you will get a letter. If your proposal was not selected, you'll still get a letter. These will be emailed to the primary contact identified on your application. Next is the appeal period. Any applicant wishing to appeal the decision must do so in writing within 4 business days of the email notification of Deal's decision. An appeal must clearly more of the following criteria only. First is a violation of policies or guidelines established in the RFP process. So that's the RFP that I'm discussing right now. Or secondly, a failure to adhere to published criteria and or procedures in carrying out the RFP process. I will note that disagreeing with the outcome is unfortunately not a valid reason to appeal the decision, and those appeals will not be considered. Next is individualized feedback sessions. Those occur between October 19th to the 21st, and you'll receive more information about that in the notification email. What these are is an opportunity to meet with myself and discuss strengths of your application, as well as areas that the review panel felt that your application or proposal could have used a little strengthening. And this is actually something that was devised and advocated by the Community Advisory Board. It was really important to the CAB that feedback be given because in hopes that in the following year or the following funding cycle, you would be able to come back and present a stronger proposal. Next is contract development, and that occurs from October 19th until November 30th. And this is when the scope of work is established, and a project deliverables and timeline is established, and also the design of a program evaluation plan. And that's done with the support of the Department of Education and Early Learning. And then the contract period itself, when the work occurs, will start December 1 to November 30. So it will be 12 months. So I have these are some ideas that you might find helpful. You're not required to do any of these, but I just recommend that you reach out to a technical assistance provider as soon as you can. It's at no cost to you, and they're so wonderful. Each and every one of them are they have so decades and decades of experience between the group of 5, and they can do almost anything to support you, and really do, I think, make a big difference in terms of the final product, and also in the process, making it a lot easier for applicants to sort of understand the spirit of the funding. So another tip is to bookmark the Prenatal to 3 webpage that's linked on DEAL's funding opportunities site, because then you don't always have to Google it every time you need to refer to it. That's something that I do. And also create calendar notices with the dates outlined in this timeline. So technical assistance period, the Q&A period, the final day to submit all elements of the application. Those are all, it's a good idea to create those calendar notices so that you can be planning ahead for a timely submission. The next topic that I'll cover is a deep dive into the documents themselves. Hopefully this will look familiar. I have the website here, and I think Cassandra also posted it in the chat. Thank you so much, Cassandra. You're so wonderful. So again, I do recommend that you bookmark this page for quick and easy access. We'll be covering all the documents in this order: the RFP technical summary, the application, and covering very lightly the budget. So this first document is the RFP technical overview, and you can find it here on the link. And this is what the first page looks like. And it was my goal in this session to cover everything that is in this document, but so you can use it to reference for the future, so that you don't have to listen to or view this webinar again. The next document is the grant application itself, and it is here in Word as well as PDF. I prefer Word because you can type directly into the Word document, as I did here as an example. Here's again, the same example. I typed directly in the document. Instead of checking, I highlighted it. If you want to check it, that's okay too. And this is the first page. The second page looks like this. This is the project narrative. It's the narrative portion of the application, which consists of 4 questions. Try to keep your responses to a page or less. And the reason for this is twofold. First, this RFP was created to be a low barrier funding opportunity for small grassroots hyper-local efforts to provide community-informed solutions to community-identified challenges. The questions were constructed to require only the information necessary to determine alignment with the Sweetened Beverage Tax Community Advisory Board's funding principles. So we really don't want you spending dozens of hours on your proposals, which is why we established this guideline for length. If it goes over a page, that's okay. I have in previous capacities at nonprofits stayed up hours counting all of the words to make sure that I didn't exceed the 500 and eliminating all of the thes and ands and I's. So really, we're not about precision here. We're more about don't spend so much time on each of these questions. It's not about the eloquence or the flow of the writing. It's about the ideas behind the writing. Second, proposals are reviewed by deal partner agencies and community members. Many, if not all, of the community members have competing priorities, just like you do. They have obligations like full-time jobs, families, or school to which they must attend. Keeping responses within the stated length guidelines minimizes the number of hours that community members spend supporting this effort. And we're so grateful for our community members. So please help us prevent them from burning out by keeping your responses to about a page. That would be really wonderful. If you'd like to supplement your responses with documents that support or illustrate your what you're writing or your responses, feel free to include them here, and any supplementary documents would not be included in the page count. This last page is an acknowledgement of the City of Seattle COVID-19 vaccine requirement. And you would simply read this statement and click on the links and check the box that you've read it and that you will comply. And then you would write the name and sign with a date saying that you understand both the vaccine requirement and also saying that the application that you provided, the information in the application you provided is to the best of your knowledge, true and correct. The last part of the application, we looked at the technical overview, then we looked at the application submission document itself, and then the last one here is the budget submission sheet. And it is just an Excel file, and it was worth I think 5 out of 100 points, but this time it is required for to be a complete application, but it is not factored in the scores. I recommend working with one of our wonderful technical assistance providers to complete this, to ensure that the budget is realistic, it reflects the work, and all of the personnel, supply, and all the other costs. There are a lot of things to consider. So if maybe just having a second pair of eyes would be helpful, or even starting from the very beginning, maybe you aren't a registered nonprofit, and this is sort of maybe one of the first big project that you'd be working on, and you don't quite have the knowledge that you would want to be able to fill this out. I think that our technical assistance providers would be so well positioned to support you with that. Just one of many, many ways that they can be so helpful. We're moving along. We're more than halfway there. As I keep referencing our wonderful technical assistance providers, that's a nice segue into this next portion, which is how to reach out for assistance. There are 2 avenues that applicants can use to obtain assistance in completing their proposals. The first is this deal funding email address. It's dealfunding@seattle.gov. And some reasons you might reach out to the deal funding email address is interpreting the text in the RFP technical overview. Maybe you want some clarification around the mechanics of submitting the proposal. And any response provided will be provided through the Deal Funding Opportunities webpage within 3 to 5 business days. And the second way you can obtain assistance is through technical assistance providers. And they can do everything that the email address can, in addition to determining eligibility and or suitability of your application for this funding opportunity. They can help you understand how to respond to the prompts in the narrative portion. They can help you conceptualize proposed services based on your previous experience, connections to your respective communities, areas of expertise. They can be thoughtful in their planning and the completion of the required budget template. So I'd mentioned previously, they're a great either sounding board or kind of second eye, or they can even help you if you sort of need to start from the beginning. They're just very skilled and wonderful. And I have pictures of our wonderful technical assistance providers in no particular order at all. They're just so friendly, and I feel like this really communicates how wonderfully friendly and amazing they are. And they're so excited to receive your outreach. And so I encourage you to utilize. Again, no charge to you, as a means to increase access to this funding opportunity. This is being provided by the Sweet and Beverage Tax, by the fund. All right, so the next area we're going to cover is submitting your proposal. You can also find this on the technical overview. This is what we utilize to when you send your proposal into the deal funding email address on the 21st, or maybe even before that of September, hopefully before that. We would indicate if it was submitted on time, and if so, we would check yes here, and then these 4 pieces here: the grant application, the acknowledgement of the vaccine requirement, the signature of the representative, as well as the budget template. If all 4 of those are complete, then your application would meet the requirements and be considered technically compliant, and would then be put in the folder with the proposals that will be considered by our community members and our city staff in who are reviewing those proposals. Let's see. The next thing is, next item is the proposal review process. I had mentioned previously, we have a review panel, and the review panel consists of community members and Sweet and Beverage Tax Community Advisory Board members and city staff. And they may be city staff from the Department of Education and Early Learning, or they may be from Department of Neighborhoods, or from the Office of the Environment and Sustainability. It's just a nice collection of city staff as well as community members. And our goal is to adhere to the criteria set forth by the Sweet and Beverage Tax Community Advisory Board. And the proposals are assessed through the lens of the priority criteria outlined in the RFP technical overview. And I had referenced it earlier in the presentation. I think the 2 criteria are looking at the organizations themselves and the proposals themselves. So those are the 2 areas of focus that are reviewed. So I am now opening it to you. If you have any questions, this would be a good opportunity. You can just take yourself off mute and ask them, or Cassandra can read any that we have in our chat.
Is this funding only available to programs that have a contract with the city, or is it open to any program nonprofits within Seattle?
Oh, that's such a good question. Thank you for asking it. Um, this funding opportunity is open um, to anyone. You do not have to currently be in contract with the city. And actually, it was intended to attract organizations or entities or community members that identified a need and they know they have a solution, which is why we're providing this technical assistance support, so that navigating not just city, but government funding processes in general can be a little tricky. So that's such a great question. It is, and just to restate my answer, this funding opportunity is available to anyone.
Okay, so very inclusive. Thank
Oh,
you.
good. You're welcome.
That was going to be my question. So thank you for that.
Oh my gosh.
The question I have is when is the TAs available? Is that starting now?
Yes. And let's see.
Is that
There
Monday through
is
Friday, 8 to 5, or
Oh, well, you have their email address is available. So what I would do is I would email them. You can even email them right now, multitask while it's fresh on your mind, and they'll get back to you as soon as they can. And the really cool thing is that they've worked together for years. These technical assistance providers have worked together as in previous endeavors at the county level, and so they work really nicely together. If they feel that they don't have expertise, but they know of one of their colleagues that does have expertise that could help them a little bit more, then they facilitate sort of a warm handoff to another technical assistance provider. They work really nicely as a team, but also they just really want to help the community be heard and help money get into the hands of community. And so, yeah, they're available right away, and I would email them. And I'm really excited at that question. That's a great question.
Tiffany, there's a question in the chat box asking if the presentation will be available online or in email later. And I just wanted to clarify that this presentation slides and the recording will be available on the funding opportunity site. And I have provided the link here in the chat box. We will also have another information session tomorrow, I think 10 a.m., right, Tiffany? And the same information, same content will be presented.
That's correct. And I thank you so much, Cassandra, for putting that link in the chat box. It likely won't be there this evening, but I think definitely tomorrow it will be the slide deck and the recording will be available. That's a great question. Thank you, Whit.
For that again with another question. In relationship to the scoring, would say two orgs partner together on the application, or is that even possible?
Yes,
would they be scored higher than a single org? So can you speak to that, please?
Oh, okay. It is highly encouraged that organizations work together on proposals, knowing that it might be the case that one organization can't do everything, and I think that technically a proposal with more than one organization attached to it, it is not the case that it would score higher by virtue of having more than one applicant, but in another sense, if you think about what having two entities together, they're able to definitely represent greater diversity, greater ties to the community, stronger ties to the community, in theory. So while it's not technically more points, it would, if an organization by itself you feel would not fare well, because either you don't have ties to the community, or you don't serve priority populations, or you don't center priority populations, applying with another entity that sort of complements what you have and what your organization does not have, that I think in a sense really would help to boost the likelihood that you would get funding. That's a great question, and I love your spirit of collaboration. That's great.
Thank you.
I hadn't planned to share this, but I think it's really helpful information. Last year, for the inaugural funding cycle, we had 45 applications. And so during the period where the review panel was reviewing applications, I received no less than 5 or 6 texts from colleagues, from community members that were on the review panel, and they were agonizing. They were expressing their absolute pain in knowing that 45 organizations, most of them applied for the maximum amount of $150,000. That it was just a really tough decision that was in front of them. And I really think that speaks to the need that we have in our community. We have this funding opportunity now, and we are planning to release another funding opportunity in around March or April, but that is depending on the mayor's budget and City Council's budget. That budget hasn't yet been established, so we'll know like in a month or so if that it will be for sure. But we seem to be in a place where we can expect another funding opportunity occurring in March or April, and it would be very similar to this. So if not now, then in a few months, that would be a good opportunity to participate in this work. And I appreciate, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I think everyone here is here because the prenatal to 3 period means a lot to you, and it means a lot to me, so much to me. And I'm really grateful for the work that I know that you are doing in your communities. So thank you for that. It was a bit of a roundabout way. Oh, good. That's a good idea, Tracy. Tracy said she's going to reach out to the technical. They're all so wonderful. I know it's hard to choose. I don't feel, I feel sorry for you having to choose, but they're just all so, I can't even tell you. I just had a conversation with Roxanne on Friday, and yeah, they're just such wonderful people.
There's a question asking if it says, if I apply only my organization, it's fine, or we still need partner?
That's a good question. Excuse me. So you can apply, an organization can apply by itself. If the organization is not, does not have a nonprofit status, or does not have a business ID number, then you would need to list a fiscal sponsor, and there's a place in the application for you to list your fiscal sponsor. And as a matter of fact, in our current funding cohort of 10 grantees, one of them is not registered as a nonprofit, and they're not a business either. So they are utilizing a fiscal sponsor. And I recommend, if you are in that, if that is the case for your organization, that you are not registered or you're not a business with an ID number, that you reach out to a technical assistance provider, because they have lots of experience supporting community and understanding what a fiscal sponsor is, and maybe even help identifying a fiscal sponsor. It's I don't actually know why that's necessary, but it just is. I wonder if there are any other questions. Oh, thank you. You have that. Oh, yay. So you don't need a fiscal sponsor then. That's wonderful. That's exciting. I didn't realize I was still sharing. Well, if there aren't any other questions, this might be a record. 45 minutes. Go ahead and make sure you look out for those slides on the funding webpage by tomorrow. Bye, Wits. Bye. Oh, bye, Bevet. I feel like we're best friends already. Look for those slides and a recording, and best of luck to all of you. Again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do for our communities, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
Take care. Have a wonderful evening as well.
Yeah.